While research has shown that teachers are the most important factor in student achievement, principals and building leaders are key to successful teacher practice. One foundational practice that leaders are struggling to develop in their teachers is a critical appreciation for the value of data. With so many different types of data and assessments consuming so much instructional time, many teachers see the words data-driven instruction and cringe. And who could blame them? As building leaders and instructional coaches, it is our responsibility to create campuses that build the capacities of teachers to use data to drive their instruction.
So, Ms. Delfor, how has Ms. Douglas helped build your capacity to use data to drive instruction?
So when we sit down in our data chats, we look at a couple of different types of data on our data trackers. We look at the STAR reading test, and we look at the snapshot data, so like the unit assessments. And generally, we look at the STAR reading data and their running records to determine those students who aren't adequately progressing, to see who needs to come to some type of intervention, either during core enrichment, doing more imagined learning, or working in tutorials or for pullouts. And then we use the snapshot data to determine the TEKS, the skills that specific students need to work on in those small groups.
So, how do I get my teachers to value data the way Ms. Delfor does? Well, first, you and the other leaders on the campus must be committed to setting the tone in the school. Often, the number of data tools a teacher has at his or her disposal is overwhelming, and data becomes viewed as a required compliance piece. If you want buy-in from educators, then flip the thinking. Develop a culture that teaches the teachers how to not only implement data tools, but also develops protocols that give teachers a way to capture and analyze the copious amounts of data that they generate in their classroom every day in a way that is visibly beneficial to their instruction and their students' growth. These structures and techniques must be developed by the school's leadership team and adjusted to fit the unique needs of the campus. It is important to begin these protocols at the beginning of the year and consistently carry out the process throughout the entire school year, during daily or weekly blocks of time to discuss the data, analyze the data, and formulate a concrete action plan for reteaching any skills that students did not meet mastery in. These conversations generally take the form of data talks. Data talks come in many different shapes and sizes, but when we are using data to inform instructional practice, there are several structural elements that make data conferences effective. The principal coach analyzes the data prior to the meeting, as well as the teacher. Leaders lead with questions to surface trends and teaching implications. There's a high ratio of teacher talk versus leader talk. And reteaching approaches were captured and written into action plans, and a timeline for reteaching was established. This is so important because data conferences must produce a clear plan of action, including a timeline by which the action plan will be executed. These protocols will be critical to the foundations of a data-driven culture. Different protocols should be used for examining different types of data. However, regardless of the type of data, it should be considered through three lenses. And the first one is big picture analysis, or conducting what we refer to as a service analysis. We're thinking about how the class did as a whole. The second phase of analysis is a deep analysis of the data. During a deep analysis, we're trying to determine what the data is really telling us, looking for patterns in the student's performance and breaking down each standard. Last, but certainly not least, is devising a plan, which is the most crucial element of data analysis. It is during the action planning phase where we begin planning how we'll reteach misconceptions and move students towards mastery of the retaught standards. Now that we have discussed the foundation for all types of data analysis protocols, let's go back to Ms. Delfor, our now exemplar teacher, and get a glimpse at how her instructional leader was able to develop her capacity, leading her from data-informed to data-driven.
They all make growth. Ms. Dominguez, I think there was one or two students that didn't.
Right.
And in Ms. Nunez's class, I don't know if because they're already very high, there was a lot of kids that did not make growth.
Okay, so this is the instructional reading level is what we're going to track. And then this is the growth report. So I can show you another report for their, like what books they can read at the actual library with Ms. Uribe. Because one thing I would suggest doing, and I did this with Ms. Hartel, is to quickly just, when I'm meeting with them in small group, like on an index card, write the number, like a good fit for you is 3.2 to 5.3. And then when they go to the library, they just have the card and they can take
So we
it.
can actually do this with
Yeah.
these numbers and
Right,
give them
so
to them to take them with them.
these are yours. If there's a kid that maybe didn't do as well, that's another thing you could compare is the fluency on our in-person running record versus on the